So if you guys love that, you're really going to hate this. If you love that, you're going to love it. If you hate it, you're going to hate it. This, by the way, he asked you to be stupid. I know the resounding chorus of skeptics in the chat are going to really eat this up. Oh, he's telling us to be dumb. He's telling us to be stupid. I knew it all along. He's just confirming what we knew all along. You got to read Pascal very carefully, okay? Is he really telling you to be stupid? Well, let's take a look. So he says, first of all, we need to understand that this is happening within a conversation of an imaginative objector here, right? So is there no way of seeing? Yeah, you got to look at evidence. And he says here, well, what if I can't believe? The objector says, I am so made that I cannot believe. I've tried and tried and tried, but I just can't force myself to believe. This is what he says. He says, if you're unable to believe, it's because of your passions. Since reason impels you to believe, and yet you cannot do so. Concentrate then, not on convincing yourself by multiplying proofs of God's existence, but by diminishing your passions. And then later down here, he says, oh, actually, let's keep going. He says, you want to find faith, you do not know the road, you want to be cured of unbelief, you ask for the remedy. Learn from those who were once bound like you and now wager all they have. They behaved, I'll skip ahead, just as if they did believe. They went through the motions. They faked it until they made it. Taking holy water, having masses said, and so on. That will make you believe quite naturally and will make you more docile. And in fact, here, if I look at the footnote here, abetir, the word, it's actually reflexive, so sabatir, means something like to make stupid, to stupefy. This translator, one of the best translators here, says to make you more docile, right? It's almost like he's asking you to join a cult, almost. What the hell he could mean right here. That will make you more docile. Obviously, as idiot religious believers, right? Am I right? This idiot religious believers, they're just gonna go through the motions, and then it's just like joining a cult. They're just gonna join a cult, right? Well, let's see what he says here. Actually, and of course, this one I'm afraid of. What do you have to lose? Okay, if I look up abetir, all right, and there have been several translations of this word. Let me put in the chat here the original, which would just be abetir, means to make oneself dumb or perhaps to stupefy. Another alternative word that some commentators and translators prefer would be something like alestir. Alestir. It's another French. This means to relieve, not in the sense to relieve yourself like you're going to the bathroom, or relieving yourself like laying on a Shakti mat or something like I did last night, or actually this morning. You get relief in that, sure, but this means to like relieve somebody from their position, like in the military or something like that, you know, a relief pitcher or something like that. So alestir means something to like relieve. Well, this means in the place of the will is replaced with passions. Oh, actually passions and the will is replaced with action right here. So another one says that if you do this switch, you will come to do what is called assagir, which means something like to be relieved or to tamp down or to be stable, okay? So this is what this means. So let's go back to the text here. I'll get to that. Thank you for highlighting my name so I know there's a question. But free to keep talking to each other. That's fine. I love it. So he says here, first of all, a couple of really important things to point out. First of all, what did the objector say in the beginning? He says, I am so made that I cannot believe. But look, I am being forced to wager and not free. I'm being held fast. I am being made so that I cannot believe. We have here an actual desire by the objector to want to believe. He's in the position, like, if you're trying to identify, like, where's he coming in? It's not in this dig in your heels. I don't care about this. It's certainly not apathetic. Dig in your heels. I don't want to believe this. I reject it. It is, I accept the wager. Like, I accept that I want infinite value, but I can't believe it. This would be the belief problem. And this, by the way, actually, I'll separate it like that. Yeah. So there's a view in philosophy called doxastic voluntarism in epistemology, and its counterpart, doxastic involuntarism. And so this is somebody who wants to believe, and I'll pull this back up. I'll pull Liz Jackson's piece up here because she says it really well. She words it really well. It's very succinct. It's a benefit of doing something just in 1,000 years. Although, anybody who's just tuning in, this is not just somebody. This is an academic. She got her doctorate from Notre Dame, and she's at Ryerson, or at least so far. She's moved since then. Anyway, so here she says here, the irrationality objection. Oh no, it's actually up here. The impossibility objection. Wagering is impossible. So the objection goes, because we can't form beliefs simply for their benefits. If I offer you $1 million, 1 equals 3, you probably still can't believe it. And she's right that most philosophers do reject this view called doxastic voluntarism, the view that we can directly control our beliefs. However, most philosophers who reject that also affirm voluntarism or doxastic involuntarism, the idea that you do have some kind of control over your beliefs, certain beliefs. Like, for example, whether God exists isn't obviously true or false, like 1 + 1 = 3. So some argue that you have more control over your religious beliefs, and here's a parallel she draws with respect to political beliefs. It's the control like you can exercise over your political beliefs, like changing the news sources that you read. In other words, you can come to believe a different way, right? Not something as obvious and certain and definitive as this, right? But something that isn't obviously true, like the jury's still out or it's not certain with respect to that. You can do this by going, circumventing your will, in other words, or actually using the will to circumvent your reason here. And I know that sounds weird, but we do it all the time, right? Because here, my reason so far in my political beliefs, supposing I'm like extremely conservative, like MAGA, make America great again, Trumper, and I'm extremely like, and so my reason, all my reason has seen, and all my reason has been informed by is Trump, right? I want to use my will to circumvent my reason in that sense, because my reason is convinced based on the evidence I've seen that that's the greatest view, right? So I need to use my will by changing my perspective, looking at other evidence so that my reason now becomes informed by other evidence, which heretofore I've just not encountered, not considered, not taken into account whatsoever. Okay, so that is what we are proposing here, and I'll get to those questions. I really love the highlighting, guys. Back to the text then. So this is somebody who wants to believe, can't believe. Okay, well, just as Liz Jackson was describing here, you can do things indirectly to change your belief. For example, if you're unable to believe, it's because of your passions. Well, because you're really, really convinced that a certain thing is true or whatever. So don't go around looking for more arguments for God's existence, but by diminishing your passions. And by doing this, you actually go diminish your passions. So he gives a couple of pieces of advice here. First, diminish your passions. Like, check. So if I'm a Trumper, then I want to actually realize that maybe I'm being a little bit too severe about this, right? Maybe, right. It's not that I need to go around looking for more proof. I need to probably do a check-in with myself and realize that I'm being a little bit too adamant with respect to, like, I see this with atheists all the time. And sorry if any of you guys are called out, but I'm not necessarily thinking about any of you in particular, but I'm just thinking anecdotally, I see this all the time. I see people, YouTubers even, who fashion their entire identity around being an ex-Christian. Like, and they form like these, maybe it's because it hits really deep for them and they've experienced some abuse or some scandal or something like that. And now in that case, I would understand. But like, if you're just following along with reason in particular, then this shouldn't be something that like really lights you up and that you're really, really adamant about.